Hello and welcome, my name's Rob, and in today's FPL video I'm going to be telling you why I'm playing my wildcard in game week 4, which a lot of people will consider very early, and explaining my reasons behind my risky new look side. So the original side I chose at the start of the season was quite well balanced and featured players from teams with reasonable opening fixtures, and I went with a full depth squad instead of a strong starting 11 and a really weak bench. For me, that's the right start because you never know who is going to start the season, especially after a World Cup summer. This was also the first season that I went with a real premium defender in Azpilicueta. I also sided with two experienced 4.5 million keepers in Begovic and a popular Fabianski, while Salah made a return to the side despite his 13 million price tag. Up front saw Firmino also return to the side with my ever-present striker Sergio Aguero. The likes of Schneiderlin and Tosun were chosen due to Everton's fixtures, and I took a risk on Richarlison and him being reunited with Marco Silva at Everton. Lovren would have featured had he not been injured, and Ben Mee was selected because of Burnley's usually capable backline. Malone was the only real throwaway player, and he ended up moving to Derby County right at the start of the season. The standout surprise to me was Sane's lack of starts, considering he had the summer off and he had such a blistering season last year. Taking a look at game week 3, and you can see only a few changes, with surprise starters Wan-Bissaka and Guendouzi on the bench, ready to pick up some points if any of the starters failed to make an appearance. Lovren was out for Alexander-Arnold, who I was waiting for to see if he would keep his place as Liverpool's right back. I stuck with Sane, hoping he would be selected to start, but sadly Pep Guardiola's bingo hadn't come up with Sane's number. Right now I'm around the 750,000 rank, which isn't bad considering a poor week 3. I had an idea pre-season though that game week 4 or game week 5 would be my wildcard week, and with formations and starting lineups beginning to cement across the Premier League, I thought now was the time to strike. So not only that, but this was also the week where I felt it was time to go all out, all or nothing on this year's fantasy football. This is my 9th season as an FPL manager, and I wanted to try something new and something different. So here's the new look team now, and remember, changes could happen before the weekend's deadline. In goal is Ben Foster, who had been my fantasy keeper for the last few years whilst he was at West Brom. Now he finds himself at Watford and back in my starting 11. The backline sees 4 defenders. We've got Alexander-Arnold keeping his place in the side, as it looks as though he will remain as Liverpool's right back, hopefully for the whole season, but Klein always gives me a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling because I do feel like sometimes Klein might get back into the side. Wan-Bissaka also stays in the squad, and in the next game he's in the starting 11 following a good start as Palace's new wing back. He's a former winger turned defender, and I'm hoping for big things this year from a £4 million player. Azpilicueta makes way for Alonso, who's playing in an even more attacking role under Sarri's system, and he is bagging the points so far this year. The 4th defender in the side is Man City's Mendy, who has also made a strong start to the season and seems to be one of the few City players who might start all, or at least most, of Manchester City's games this year. We see a 5-man midfield with FPL king Salah keeping his place in the side. However, he is surrounded by all new players. Eden Hazard comes in as another premium midfielder. He has looked lively in his short appearances so far, and with enough rest behind him, he looks set to be put back into the starting 11 and back amongst the goals. Plus, there's a good run of fixtures for Chelsea coming up. Gundogan is brought in the hope that he will start games now for Manchester City following Kevin De Bruyne's injury, and at 5.5 million, if Gundogan plays, I think he will be great value for points. Mkhitaryan is also in the side following a promising start, and at 7.1 million, I think that is a pretty good bargain. Arsenal had a tough start to the season, but Mkhitaryan has been amongst the action and goals so far this season. Surprisingly, perhaps, I feel the least confident in him, but at 7.1 million, a good start that he's had so far, and with some good fixtures coming up for Arsenal, I felt that it was worth the risk. The final midfielder is Theo Walcott, with Everton still having a good run of fixtures and Walcott himself having a good bit of form. He was originally in my first draft at the start of the season but was replaced by Richarlison, which in hindsight was a good decision. However, Richarlison now faces a 3-game ban and Walcott seemed like the logical replacement. That means that up top we go with one striker, that's the main man, Sergio Aguero. And had I not played my wildcard, I would have triple captained Aguero this week because the Champions League still hasn't started and Pep will want to bounce back with a win following the Wolves result. So I think Sergio will start and he loves scoring against Newcastle. He's got 11 goals in 11 games so far against the Magpies. On the bench, we've got Hamer, who has started in goal surprisingly for Huddersfield this season, and being valued at 4 million, it seemed logical to have him as the backup. Bennett is on the bench for basically the same reason. He's been involved in every minute so far of Wolves this season. Callum Wilson sits out this week as Bournemouth head to Chelsea. Even though he's had an amazing start himself, I can't see much joy for Wilson at Stamford Bridge this weekend. Finish off the squad, we've got Danny Ings, who is for me a great price at 5.6 million. He should play a lot for Southampton this year and he's a good player on his day. He's got that low price tag because obviously at the start of the season he was at Liverpool. So I'm thinking if you do need a backup budget striker for 5.6 million, Danny Ings is a good choice. So now you've seen the squad almost completely change. Now let me explain my squad decision. So as you can see, my team lacks top premium strikers. My start of season plan was to see which cheap strikers, so around 6 million, would play about 90 minutes consistently and score a couple of points a few weeks into the season, because this year I won't be looking to play 2 or 3 strikers very often. I'll be looking a lot at 4-5-1 or 4-4-2. So at 5.6 million and 6.1 million, Ings and Wilson look like my bench options this year, who will come in when they have favourable home fixtures and my normal starting 11 has some tricky away ties. Now, you can see that I've gone very heavy on premium defenders and wingers. That's because I feel like, since especially last season, that's where the points are. Not from strikers getting goals up front, but from clean sheets and assists and even goals from wing backs and wingers. Wing backs and wingers for me are now the biggest potential point scorers in the FPL. If we look at the current points, defenders have scored the most points so far, then midfielders, then strikers. I feel that when we look at points for value, strikers aren't worth it. Your premium strikers are Aguero, Gabriel Jesus, Kane, Lukaku, Aubameyang, Firmino. But for 9.5 to 12.5 million, I don't feel as though their price equals their points. Yes, those strikers may play a lot and yep, they might get 15 goals or more a season, but I don't feel as though they get enough in assists, clean sheets or bonus points. Strikers only scoring goals when they're valued over 9 million isn't worth it, and teams seem to be focusing less on getting goals from their main strikers and more from getting goals throughout the entire team. I feel like teams are more focused on team goals and set pieces now and not just relying on those strikers, the number 9s up front, to score the majority of their goals. With the defenders, I'm not looking at clean sheets. For me, that would actually be a bonus. What I'm looking for with my defenders are assists and goals, and even though the likes of Alonso and Mendy are valued at 6.7 and 6.3 right now respectively, it feels as though they're just as likely to bag an assist as any other midfielder or striker, especially players who are valued around the same. Plus, they are Chelsea and Manchester City players. They should be seeing a lot of possession in games and keeping some clean sheets throughout the season, especially at home to lower league sides. As for the midfield, again, goals seem to be coming more from wingers. Salah, Mane, Richarlison and Pereira are all playing out wide this season, and they are the current top 5 point scorers for midfielders. Gundogan is my only non-winger midfielder, but he is in because hopefully he plays a lot for Manchester City following De Bruyne's injury, and he's in a team that I believe will win the season. Plus, he is a player who likes to get forward and get some goals and some assists. So there's my big squad shake-up after using my wildcard in game week 4. This season looks like I'll be playing a lot of 4-5-1 with some minor transfers happening throughout the season. So let me know what you think of my decision below. Do you think backing defenders and wingers is a good idea, or will limiting my striking options come back to haunt me? FPL is something I love doing and spend a long time thinking about every week. So if it's something that you would like to see more of on this channel, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to see more FPL content like previews, reviews and suggestions. You can also join the channel's FPL League, which has, I believe, a couple of hundred teams. The code is in the description below. So thanks for watching again, and as always, have a good one.